Today marks the release of Don't Starve Together's Return to Them finale, the one we've all been waiting for, the one they've been building up for years. And I am not excited. And I thought I would be. I thought that this would be the moment where I was like, okay, they're actually bringing out a good update. They're adding a lot of information. They're adding a lot of new stuff. We're getting some information, some lore stuff. We're getting some new cool content. And for the past few weeks, people have been beta testing it, and they've been basically playing most of the content, which is how it kind of usually works. But for this one, I feel like it's enough, but it's not what I want. I feel like the direction of Clay is being to go in the late game direction, where they're constantly building towards an epic storyline that reaches a conclusion which lines up perfectly in some cool crazy end, which I could see that it is the cool crazy end, the one that people have wanted. But the people who want it are the people who've been playing the game for years, and the game is dying. And the only people who really play the game now are people who are going for drops, and who just have been playing for a long time. I mean, overall, yes, technically for the past year, the viewership has increased overall. I think we see heights of about 40,000 where there's a new patch, and about 20 to 10,000 whenever the game starts dying out a little bit. And with the constant patches, definitely we'll see a lot more growth for sure. But if this is going to be the last in a series of patches, I'm not really sure how long it will take before another big patch comes out. Now, the issue that I have could be solved soon, for the mere fact that if there's another storyline that starts, it could fix the issue that I think is the main issue with the game, and that's early game content. Early game content is something that DST lacks a lot of. I mean, we know there's a lot of late game content, but a lot of people who play the game don't really ever stick around for late game content. We see a lot of people who pick up the game very early on, who play the game for a very long time, or who play it for a couple of weeks. They really enjoy it. They're like, this game is really amazing, but they struggle. They struggle really hard to even get past winter. I know a lot of people who play the game once or twice. They're like, this game is really good, but it's too hard. And I like the game hard, personally. I think it's fantastic that it's hard. I think that there's always a lot of challenge runs. There's a lot of things you could do like that make the game more difficult and make more fun for me personally. And I want to see more difficult things in the game, but I also want to see more early game content. I want to see more things where it's like, we got lunar, we got caves, and we have just regular basing. Those are basically our three options, or early game rushes, but that's a little bit more advanced. I mean, even ruins is really advanced, right? So basically we have two options for newer players. You either regular base or you go to lunar. There's not really anything else. If you're a new player, having more options is sometimes a good thing to do. If you can't even make it to winter, sometimes doing something different might be good. Having that early game stuff might be interesting for a player, and it would also be interesting for veterans, right? Because we'd have a new way to start the game. Right now, the two viable options for really having a really good start is Ruins Rush and early D-Fly or early B-Queen, like early boss rush, right? Like early boss rush or early caves are two of the easiest ways to really get a major advantage in the game. Those are advanced tactics, like I said before. So for a newer player, it doesn't really seem likely for them to want to do that. And having all this late game content being added doesn't really add a newer viewership, or doesn't really add a new game, like new DST players. The game will eventually kill itself if all it does is patch late game content. And I love late game content, like I said, but nobody is really going to get to that content overall. We see big streamers getting to that content. We see a lot of veteran players getting to that content. But how many average players actually play late game content? I know a lot of people in my channel who don't ever play that stuff. So who's going to see it? I don't know. So I think it's going to take a long time before we see some early game stuff. And I'm kind of scared, because I feel like the game hasn't really moved in that direction. Now, the reason that I say that it might be fixed soon, and I hope that it'll be fixed soon, is that this marks the end to the return of them. Is it return of them or return to them? Return of them. I don't know. I always forget. This marks the end of the return of them. So maybe, just maybe, the next storyline will pick up from an early game standpoint. We'll see something brand new right in the beginning, some small items that we can craft from the beginning of the game, some new cool things that we can craft right in the beginning, and then we can build up toward an epic conclusion again. But what that means is that we'll get like one patch of early game content, and then we'll get like 7 patches of late game content. We'll get a huge boss. We'll get some crazy thing we'll never summon, and we'll hate fighting. There's no reason to fight it anyway. And it's like, I don't want a one-off boss that I can fight once. I want a new D-Fly. I want a boss that like spawns in the world. It's pretty. You can rush pretty early. I want like a new thing. Like, I mean, they did add the new ruins like the new cave biome, which is kind of nice. But I feel like it's not something that a new player would really know even exists. And there a lot of new players are afraid of going in the caves. Why not add like the volcanic biome from Shipwrecked or something, or add more islands or something that is a little more easily accessible, a little bit difficult to get to, but something that a person can know about, that they can access, that isn't overwhelming for a new player, that they can do early on before winter, that can make the game more challenging in some ways, but will also add depth to it. And I feel like having a new player see those things early on makes them really want to go for them, that they really, really want to experience it. I know that one thing that gets me into games is watching a streamer play a game and then seeing something, them do something, and then being like, wow, I want to do that. It happened with Street Fighter like a lot. That's the reason I played Street Fighter for so many years. For like 20 years of my life, I've been playing. More than that, I've been playing since I was 5 years old. So 25 years. 4 years old, 25 years. I've been playing Street Fighter because I watched 2 people in a deli in South Africa playing on an arcade machine, doing Shoryukens and Hadoukens, and I didn't understand how to do it, and I really wanted to do it so badly. And having those things, especially early game, that are somewhat attainable, having those things early game makes it so much better for new players, because if they're just a little bit difficult to do, they do it, they figure it out, and then they go for the new stuff. Then they try to learn more and more and more, and they grow. But DST is not headed in that right direction. They're headed in the late game direction, where it's not easily attainable. It's hundreds of hours of work for some people, and I feel like the game is going to fail if they don't change. No, I know they're going to fail. Anyway, I have a storm today. We'll talk about it later. Thank you guys for hanging out. I appreciate it. If you like what you're watching, feel free to hit the subscribe button. I'll tell you guys later. Bye.